Why do you support Donald Trump?
All right, so before we get into that, I I know I've been listening for a couple minutes now. I know like the whole all that. I don't disagree with you at all. I don't think Donald Trump is a good person. He claims to be Christian. I don't think that he's a Christian. I don't think that he's a good person whatsoever. But I do think that he has some good policies. I think tariffs are a good policy. You can look at the numbers that tariffs have brought in. I think his immigration policy is a good policy, getting criminals and everything out of our country. And between the choices I had to vote for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump was a better option. And if you want to touch on immigration or tariffs, we can start on either one you want to.
So to clarify, if you want to get criminals out of the country, I don't know why it wasn't your first prioritization to ensure that someone you believe to be a is not in the position of presidency to pardon violent rioters on January 6th who cops and were convicted of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with January 6th at all, but also you can look at a lot of the Antifa people, the people that you could see in the violent riots in a lot of cities. There were pictures of the same kind of people at both of those kind of riots. And yeah, don't get me wrong.
So are you saying Donald Trump pardoned Antifa?
I'm not saying he pardoned Antifa.
Okay. So then I'm confused. The violent offenders that he pardoned obviously weren't Antifa. Secondly, are you Antifa?
No, not at all.
You're not anti-fascist?
I'm saying I am anti-fascist. I don't support fascists. I might have used the wrong word.
So you are Antifa?
I don't know what to say to that. I'm not a fascist, no.
Yeah, so you are Antifa.
If that's what that word means, then I guess so.
Okay.
Are you Antifa?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Can we touch on one more thing? I wanted to touch on something that you said to the last guy.
Okay.
You mentioned that Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. Is what Barack Obama did to overthrow what the American people voted for in the 2016 election a threat to democracy?
Wait, say that one more time.
Is what Barack Obama did in the 2016 election after Donald Trump won, after the people's vote had came in, is that a threat to democracy?
What did he do?
Have you not seen all of the stuff about calling the secret meeting and taking back all of the intel reports and stuff that said that Russia had nothing to do with the election, didn't persuade the election whatsoever?
Really? Because, I mean, why did the Mueller report, along with other special counsel reports, indicate that there was Russian interference?
So you haven't seen the reports that have been released?
What?
You haven't seen the reports that have been released saying that Obama called a secret meeting with his highest top national security people. And after that meeting, there was an email that was sent out to 6 individual people in national security that wrote up a separate article by themselves saying that, falsely accusing that Russia had interference with the 2016 election. And there's been multiple
multiple special counsel reports, along with specifically the Mueller report, indicated that 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 Russia did interfere with the 2016 election. That's one thing. Two is related to this. Donald Trump bringing up Obama to try to act like he tried to undermine the 2016 election results is ridiculous. One, because he's still doing that with the 2020 election, along with the fact that he's using this to distract away from his culpability within the context of the Epstein files. So explain to me why he still to this day has not dropped the Epstein files, right? And why he was lying about being on the Epstein files.
I can't tell you why he was lying. I can't explain any of that. I'm not Donald Trump. But at the same time, my argument to the Epstein files would be, if the Democrats, when they were in office, were trying to put Trump in jail, they did put him in jail. There's a mugshot of him. Why were the Epstein files not released at that point if he was in them?
So, again, I'm pretty sure that they were sealed until later into the administration. Plus, we'd have to reference particularly Merrick Garland, along with the fact that when we point to like the Epstein files, we could acknowledge culpability amongst Democrats if they had the ability to access them. All right, given that they had the ability to access them and could have released them and didn't release them, I think we should absolutely give culpability to Democrats for that. But yeah, like, I mean, if they did it, if they had the ability to. But to my knowledge, they didn't have the ability to know that Donald Trump was on the files. I wasn't. They weren't briefed. Could you give me any evidence that they were briefed on that?
No, I can't give you any evidence. That's a completely rhetorical question. I'm just saying, if they were in control of the country at that time, and Donald Trump is now, and Donald Trump can release them. And like you said, you don't know that they could be released. I don't know if they could be released either. It's a completely rhetorical question. I'm just confused on neither one of us know if they could. Why weren't they released then, but they want them released now? And that's just my complete question about that.
So again, and I provided a response is that in one scenario that they were sealed, and the other scenario, right, they've been unsealed, and we want to reference under Trump's administration, he ran on like declassifying them. Also, under his view, he thinks you can just declassify it by thinking about it. Remember the classified documents case? Do you think that Donald Trump declassified those documents?
Which declassified documents are you
Do,
referencing?
do you think that the documents that he was hiding from federal authorities, saying that he didn't have, that he hid in his bathroom in Mar-a-Lago?
I'm not. Obviously, you do this for a job, and you're more informed on a lot of this stuff than I am. So I'm going to be honest.
For
I'm
the
not talking
longest
about. So you
time,
can
he was
inform me about
claiming
that.
that he doesn't have criminal culpability for this because he can declassify things by just thinking about it.
Okay. And what's the point we're trying to make here?
Okay, if he can declassify things by just thinking about it under his own perspective, why hasn't he declassified the Epstein files yet?
It's probably because he's on it. I mean, if we're being completely honest, he probably is on it. Yeah.
So you're willing to support him even though he's protecting and he's also on it himself.
I think that they're going to be released. They haven't yet. I think this stuff is still being combed through. I think I seen an article the other day that said that Donald Trump did have a relationship with Epstein. He never went to the island, and he did an interview talking about Bill Clinton, and he said a couple
Do
other
you
names.
believe
and
him that he
actually-
was never on the island if he lied about him being on the Epstein files?
I guess we won't know until
And
something's
also said that
released.
Epstein was a terrific guy and he likes beautiful women as much as he does, many of them on the younger side.
I
He also
haven't seen-
bragged
I've
about
heard you
walking
say
in the
that.
changing rooms of girls' Miss USA because he quote unquote owns the place to inspect them without their consent. Who was held civilly liable if
So to the claim about the likes beautiful women as much as he did, I've never actually seen that, and I've heard you say that a couple times in this live, and
yeah.
I've never actually seen that one.
yeah, just literally look the quote up. I'll tell you a title of an article if you'd like me to.
All right, I got something pulled up right now. Tell me what to look up.
Look up Trump. Says Epstein is terrific guy and likes beautiful women as much as he does, many of them on the younger side.
This was a quote that was made in 2002. Epstein was indicted in 2008 and was arrested on federal charges in 2019 for charges of.
Okay, when was Epstein
in
running it?
2000,
When
in 2004, Trump banned-
when was Epstein
in-
running the island? Was it during that time period?
It probably was, but also Trump said that he never went to the island, and by 2004,
Trump saying that he never went to the island is literally not something that I'm going to believe because he lied about being on the files.
Okay, so what if it gets proved that he's never been to the island? It hasn't been proved yet, but what if it does?
Then I would believe it if there's proof and evidence.
Okay, then what about when 2004, when the rumors started coming out about Epstein's behavior, Trump banning him from Mar-a-Lago?
Wait, so what about his behavior specifically? Did he know that led him to banning him?
I'm not sure. I'm reading an article right now that says the amid rumors of inappropriate behavior. There's 4 sources behind it.
What inappropriate behavior?
I haven't clicked on any of these sources yet. It just says the amid sources of reports of inappropriate behavior, and he was banned from Mar-a-Lago in 2004.
Okay, so want to know what Donald Trump said? Donald Trump said it was because Epstein, right, quote unquote, stole an underage private masseuse that he had working for him at Mar-a-Lago. That then, right, Virginia Giuffre came out, who was the 17-year-old girl at that time, right, and talked about the fact that Jeffrey Epstein, right, specifically was her to do things, right, in the context of under his watch with Ghislaine Maxwell, and is one of the witnesses that came out and talked about the abuse that she underwent. And she actually unalived herself recently.
That's terrible. I hate that anybody would ever feel that that's the only way out. And if you do feel that that's the only way out, you should be able to get help. And that's absolutely terrible. Nobody should ever feel like that's the last resort and that's the only option. At that point, you need Jesus Christ in your life. And
don't turn this into a religious thing.
I'm not turning it into a religious thing.
You just totally turned it into a religious thing.
I'm a religious man, and I believe if you.
I
think
understand,
that's the
but
only
like that,
option,
I think that's like
yeah.
really
I don't.
crazy
I don't
to
want
do
to turn.
that.
I don't want to turn this. I don't want to turn this religious. I'm just saying, in my beliefs, that if you think that's the only option, then that's what you need. But that's just my views on this. Can we move on from Epstein though? Because I feel like that's all that we talk about in a lot of these kind of debates.
So you don't want to address what I just said because Donald Trump quite literally knew about this happening right, before, and never went to authorities about this, even though he knew that Virginia Giuffre had came out about these stories about her being abused by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and by them.
Again, this
Why,
is
why didn't
something
he
that I'm
come out
not.
with this information until now?
This is just something I haven't been educated on. And obviously, you do this for a job and you make money off this and you own a business, so you're more educated on these specific names. I've never heard those names until you just mentioned those to me.
Okay. Is there
So
anything
there's two more.
else? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's two more topics I want to touch on. What is your thought on the immigration policy of the Trump administration? Because there's been record high of like less border crossings than there has in a long time under this administration.
Under the Trump administration?
Yeah,
Record high border crossings?
record high, like sorry, record low border crossings. I said the wrong word. I meant like
That's a
record
bad
high and
thing.
nobody crossed.
That's a bad thing.
You don't think that people should be crossing the border illegally?
No, it's not just people coming to the country undocumented, it's people coming in general.
I'm saying illegally.
And legally.
Okay, but illegal border crossings, do you support people coming into the country illegally?
Anyone who's come to the country undocumented who has not committed a violent crime or bad crime, I believe should be given a pathway to citizenship. Where they
But
do not have to leave the country.
you could prove me wrong here, but is coming into the country illegally not a federal crime?
It's a misdemeanor. Is being a convicted criminal held civilly liable to pardon violent rioters on January 6th who beat cops were convicted of it and admitted to it? Or are those federal offenses?
It is, yeah. And I literally, the first thing I said when I came into this live was I don't think Donald Trump's a good person, but I do support a lot of his policies.
So I have a
I
question.
don't think you have to be a good person to be a good president.
So I have a question. Do you think that every law should be enforced?
Yeah, I do. But also there's
Okay,
something
if you think every law should be
also,
enforced, if you think that every law should be enforced, well then why do you think that it's okay that Donald Trump pardoned violent rioters on January 6th? Why do you still support him even though he did that? Because he released violent criminals from the country intentionally.
look at Fossey and all these people that Joe Biden pardoned on
Fauci,
his last day of
Fauci,
office.
Fauci, those are
However you say his
preemptive.
name.
Those are preemptive pardons because Donald Trump is going after people that were previously in the Biden-Harris administration because it is the case that he is literally an insane lunatic, and he was right for doing so.
We're deflecting off of the fact of illegal immigration, and so you think that people that cross the border illegally should have a path to citizenship and not be taken back to their own country and be forced to come here legally?
If you come to the country undocumented, you haven't committed a violent crime or bad crime, I believe you should be given a pathway to citizenship where you do not have to leave the country. Why do you disagree with this position?
I think that if you want to be an American citizen, you should take the right avenues. We have avenues to become American citizen, and I think that you should have to take the right avenues to do that.
So you want to enforce the law in all circumstances. Again, how do you want to enforce the law in all circumstances while simultaneously supporting a guy who released violent criminals in the country who cops and were convicted of it? Explain to me. Explain to me how you
Again,
can support a guy that literally incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol,
I told you in the start of the
treason.
slide, I don't think that he's a good guy. He has presidential immunity for a lot of the crimes that he's done. Also, there's been people on both sides that have done crimes. I don't think a lot of the Republicans are good. I don't think a lot of the Democrats are good either way, but there's a thing called presidential immunity, and so we're past that because obviously he's never going to be indicted on any of those crimes.
So you're saying it was okay for him to incite a violent insurrection on the Capitol because he was president?
I don't think that it was okay, no.
Okay, so
But at this point in
why do you support him still?
Because, like I said, I support some of his policies.
So what policies specifically are so great and so amazing that you're willing to overlook him literally being a convicted felon, literally being held civilly liable, literally pardoning violent rioters that cops on January 6th, inciting a violent insurrection at the Capitol? Explain to me how you can just overlook that. And it can't just be, oh, people came to the country undocumented, because that's not a violent crime. That's not at all comparable.
I was getting to these other things. I don't support all of the big beautiful bill. I support a lot of the things that are in it. I support
Name one provision in the big beautiful bill that you support.
I support no taxes on overtime, and I
There
support
wasn't no
taking
taxes on
people.
overtime. It's a $12,500 deduction from your taxable income, right? And if you look at the after-tax income effect of the bill, the bottom 20% of income earners have decreased after-tax income by hundreds of dollars, and then it gives disproportionate tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires.
I'm not a millionaire or billionaire, and I'm going to get a tax break from the big beautiful bill.
Yeah, but disproportionately it goes to the rich. It's not to benefit you disproportionately. It's to benefit the rich disproportionately.
Okay. You and Dean both like to bring up the fact of taking people off of healthcare and taking people off of food stamps.
As we should.
See, in the opposite way of that. I think that to get these government benefits, I think you ought to be able to. It should be more strict. I don't think we should just give them for free. I think people that are sitting around not doing anything shouldn't be able to.
You don't think everyone in the country should have health insurance?
I think everybody should in the country should have health insurance. Yes, but
Okay,
it should also be.
so then why would you think that it's justified to cut anyone off health insurance?
Okay, so Parker, let me ask you this question: a 30-year-old man sitting around that lives with his mother and is a perfectly able working person and sitting around and his mother's in her basement, doesn't have a job, you think we should give this person free health insurance when
Yes.
they're perfectly able to work? Why?
Yes. Because no one in this country should go without access to health insurance.
I don't get free health insurance. I work every single day. I pay for my health insurance. It
And
comes out of my
by the way,
check
I have a family member this would be applicable to, and I don't think they should be kicked off health insurance.
So you have a family member who's a perfectly able-bodied working person who just doesn't work and just chooses not to work and just gets government benefits.
And is above the it doesn't get governmental benefits, but is over 30 years old and lives at home.
So he gets free health insurance. He doesn't have a job. Is he looking for a job?
I don't think he has free health insurance, but I don't think he can afford it, so he doesn't get health insurance. I think he should still have health insurance.
Does he have a job?
No.
Why doesn't he have a job?
I'm not going to explain and litigate all of that, but it doesn't matter.
So if there's a perfectly able 30-year-old man that can have a job, there's absolutely no reason why you don't have a job. If you don't want to have a job,
I think that he should go work, but that doesn't mean if he doesn't work, he should be kicked off health insurance. What?
See, I'm the opposite way. I think it does. I think I'm the opposite opinion of that. I think it does. I think if you want to be lazy and not do anything, I shouldn't be paying my tax dollars that are taken out of my check every single time.
I have a question.
For people who just don't want to work.
I have a question then. Do you think that they should be protected by the police? Do you think they should be able to use public roads? The person that we're referencing that doesn't work enough to your standards. Do you think there should be work requirements for using public roads, for being protected by the police, for being protected by the firefighters? Do you think there should be work requirements for all the social services we use?
Using public roads, I don't think there should be work requirements for that. Being protected by the police, I don't think.
What about emergency health care?
I mean, technically, you can get emergency health care and get a bill and not have health insurance and never pay it.
But like I'm asking you, it has to be by law provided to you, emergency health care.
It does, yeah. I work in healthcare.
Okay. So that has to be by law. So again, and I would argue because we believe in that fundamental right means we have to believe that everyone should have health insurance in the country protected, because it is the case that people die due to not having access to preventative health care, which increases the likelihood they get chronic disease. So I think that every single person in this country should be taken care of in terms of health insurance, because 45 to 68,000 American lives are lost every single year due to lack of health insurance because they can't get access to preventative health care. And then the health care systems can't respond to it because it's already at a point in which they develop a chronic disease because they didn't get access to preventative health care because they could not afford it.
So when have all these people been not being able to get access to preventative health care? So has it been since Donald Trump's been in office?
Every single year. Because we do not have access to a public option. We don't have access to a single-payer healthcare system. We don't have access to a system that provides for every single person in this country. That's been true for decades in this country, and things like the ACA, things like Medicaid, things like Medicare have helped with our population being covered, but they have not ensured that every single person in this country should be covered. That's why I believe in things like Medicare for All. That would save us $450 billion per year in extra healthcare costs, right? $4.5 trillion over the next 10 years. And it would also provide everyone healthcare, dental care, right? Mental health care, everyone in the country, no copays, no deductibles, no premiums.
So you're saying you want to be more like Canada, where they have their whatever it's called, their universal healthcare system.
I mean, in certain ways, I would like our healthcare system to be more like Canada's. In certain ways, I would not like it to be more like Canada's. But obviously, mostly, yes. If I could pick Canada's healthcare system or America's healthcare system, I would pick Canada's by far. Not even close.
Okay, that's just something we can disagree on, and we can agree to disagree on. I think that's one of the great things of politics, and we can just agree to disagree.
Why do you disagree on that? These are Americans. These are parents. These are grandparents. These are sons, right? These are daughters. These are sisters. Again, these are siblings. These are brothers.
Again, and I love every American person. I like people on the left. I like people on the right. Personally, I'm not even on the right. I'm in the middle. Every single political quiz I've ever taken, I never line up on either side. But yes, I do support Donald Trump. But the reason that I think that we should be more like America instead of Canada in healthcare is I think people should work. I don't think people should be lazy. I think everybody should work and be able to work.
You should incentivize people to work through other mechanisms other than restricting their access to health insurance. Does that make sense? Like you can
Yeah, I mean,
provide work programs and incentives and education and things for people to have access to community to incentivize them to go into work. But you should not restrict people's access to health insurance and give them a greater likelihood of because it is the case that I don't. I believe that's a fundamental basic human right in the same way that we believe that it's a fundamental basic human right that people have access to emergency health care in the hospitals when they are in need, even if they don't have to have a work requirement to get access to that.
okay, I can completely see your point on what you're saying. I don't think that anybody should, but at the same
That would
time,
be
I
cruel
work
and
in healthcare.
unusual punishment. That wouldn't be putting America first. That wouldn't be
You're right.
caring for our fellow Americans, people in our communities that we should be having empathy, compassion for, right? And we should be building community to incentivize people to work together. Do not force people, incentivize people, right? Provide community. Ensure that everyone has a baseline, everyone taken care of, and ensure that they know that they matter and that people care about them. And more people will want to engage with the system. People have been disenfranchised by the system because they feel like they don't matter. They feel like they aren't understood. They feel like they aren't heard. They feel like there's no one that they can connect with. They don't feel like there's communities in which they can fit in with. And that is oftentimes why people fall out of the system. And instead of just letting people fall out of the system, we should have systems and safety nets in place to ensure that when people fall, that there is something to catch them. And that should be our community, and that should be us as a society being compassionate and empathetic, right? And I don't think that we should live in a society that should restrict people's access to health insurance and food and water and basic human necessities to incentivize them to work. We can incentivize them in other ways. I promise you, we can find the way to do that. And if we can't find
Okay.
the way to do that, don't be so cruel to treat of your fellow Americans in such a way, because you wouldn't want your children, your grandchildren, and your great grandchildren to be treated that way when you're not here to take care of them, when they don't have
Yes.
family around to take care of them, because inevitably that happens for some people, that they don't have family, they don't have people around them to take care of them, and when they don't, and when they fall through the cracks of our society, they should be caught by a system that is there to ensure their safety, stability, and continued growth, happiness, and the pursuit, all right, for like a better life.